press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hey children, I've been discussing wave optics the past few sessions. In the course, we have completed with interference phenomena and various applications in Young's double slit experiment. In the previous session we have studied. After that, problems to be solved on them. At the end I will discuss all the numericals related, both either it is competitive or theory, whatever it might be. At the end of the sessions I am going to give them, or we will see how it is planned. Accordingly I am going to make it. So now in continuation, for today I am going to start with diffraction. Diffraction or diffraction, anything you can. So one phenomena, interference, we have studied from the past few sessions. I already told you, right? It is all about the superposition of two waves coming from two coherent sources. In microscopic view, if you want to say, it's not just two waves, two wavefronts. When two wavefronts from two coherent sources are going to arrive, or when they are going to superpose, we are going to have the interference phenomena. And how that interference phenomena, it is going to be studied by Young. Accordingly, we have seen the analysis of those of the interference phenomena on the screen, all about how the intensity pattern on the screen. Similarly, how the fringes that are going to be formed on the screen, how they are going to be spatial, width, or you can say like distance between the fringes, fringe width, and what factors it do depends, and on so on. All such parameters, and that fringe width depends on what parameters. So like bright fringe distance, dark fringe distances, what are the conditions for them in terms of phase difference, path difference. So all the certain kind of properties or problem points related to the interference concept we have studied. So it is very clearly mentioned that interference is only due to the superposition of two primary wavefronts coming from two coherent sources. And you know that coherent sources individually we cannot have. So that two coherent sources should be from what? Single source we have studied. In order to make that phase difference or phase to be constant for those two waves which are going to be superposing, that are all under coherency condition. For interference we have studied all each and every point. Now when it comes to diffraction, I told you to have an idea on, you need to hold some concept related to secondary wavefronts. What does secondary wavefronts leads to? Primary wavefronts, no doubt they are going to lead to interference phenomenon directly when these two interference, two primary waves are going to be superposed, right? Wavefronts I am talking about. When two primary wavefronts of those two superposition, right, you are going to have the interference phenomenon. Now, when you come to diffraction, superposition of either a primary wavefront with a secondary or a secondary with a primary, whatever it may be, and there is no need of even two sources here. There is no requirement of two sources from where two primary wavefronts are going to be coming from for what? Diffraction phenomena to take place. A single source from which it might be two primary wavefronts, or it might be different parts of the primary wavefront where secondary wavefronts are going to be formed, right? So due to the superposition of a secondary wavefront, due to the superposition of a primary and a secondary wavefront, whatever may be the combination, so we are going to have certain intensity pattern on the screen, how we have studied just like interference phenomenon. But it is quite different when you observe there are some differences when you observe with interference phenomenon and diffraction phenomena. Quite differences we are going to observe. So what exactly those differences are? Before going for that, we will just start with the definition for diffraction. I am going to write definition. It's like encroachment of light into its encroachment of light into its geometrical shadow, into its geometrical shadow. Geometrical shadow, that itself we used to call it as diffraction. Encroachment of light, or we can also say bending of light. Bending of light or encroachment of light or anything one and the same. Bending of light also I can mention. Bending of light into its geometrical shadow. Bending of light into its geometrical shadow. What is the meaning of it? What is the meaning? Encroachment or bending. When actually this phenomenon it is going to take place? In which scenario it is going to take place? I'll just take an example for it and let me explain. I'm going to take a sharp knife edge. This is what the edge, sharp knife edge we are having. We're going to make some light to incident exactly at the knife edge. Exactly at this point I am going to incident. It is going to obstruct its motion. There is a small obstacle it got for the light in its propagation or in its path of propagation, right? Light, whenever it is propagating in its path, right, it just encounters an obstacle. Whenever an obstacle it is going to encounter in its path, it's not like it should be always a bigger object. Even a small minute object of the size of some air molecules, okay, in air molecules which are going to be present, even for small dust particle, if I say, even if light is passing through due to a dust particle, an obstacle, if it comes, it undergoes diffraction. Keep this point in mind. It's not like always bigger objects you need to have as an obstacle. Even a small tiny object like a dust particle, if a light is going to encounter in its path, it undergoes diffraction. So what is the diffraction now? Generally, if there is some sharp edge over, say, this is what a small screen I have taken on the other place or away from this sharp knife edge, you know. I have taken a screen. Now, let's say the sharp edge position is somewhere at this point. No doubt its shadow is going to be present in this region. In this region, the shadow of this knife it is going to be present. Meaning is there is no light. It is completely opaque. It doesn't allow the light to pass through it. Okay. So light, whatever it is coming, right, it is getting obstructed here. Only you can see the light rays which are coming and falling in this region, right? No doubt we can see some brightness in this region. Why? Because why you can see some brightness. All the light coming out other than this region, right? It is going to reach this point. No doubt in that. And if light doesn't have a property of bending, for example, all these light rays are they are traveling. Let me say the other light rays they are traveling. They are reaching this region. You can see some brightness in this region. Why? Because there is no any obstacle in this region. So now, if this light doesn't have this property called so-called bending property or bending of light or encroachment of light, I told. Encroachment, what is the meaning? Bending or projection of light into its geometrical shadow. This is geometry of an object which you have taken or an obstacle. And its geometrical shadow is in this region only. Na? This is what the geometrical shadow of the region. This is the region where geometrical shadow we are going to have. Geometrical shadow of the object. Okay. So now, if you observe, right, is there any light present in this region? Light in the sense some brightness. Is there any brightness present in this region or not? How you can say? Obviously, you can observe some brightness in this region. In general, if I say, you enclose completely, you just make a room to be completely closed. Let's say there is no any source of light. You make a small hole over there. A small hole over there in a wall you make it where the sunlight can enter inside. If you observe, through that small hole, only the hole where, how much is the size of the hole in that region, right? Wherever you make a small hole, right? Only that much light is going to be incidented, or you can see some brightness over there throughout the spot there. Obviously, you can see some brightness, right? Even like when the light is passing, if I am going to place some obstacle here, this is the screen which I have taken. Definitely in this geometrical shadow also you are going to see some light. How come it is going to be? Why? Because there is no any light coming in this region, isn't it? There is no any light coming. It is making the light to opaque in this particular region. It's not making the light to allow to pass through it. It's a thick one which is not a transparent medium. Remember, it's not a transparent to light. Such type of object I have taken, knife edge only I have taken. So now in this region still some brightness you are going to see because of one phenomena called what? Diffraction we are studying. how we can see some brightness in this region means, see, if you observe, the light which is coming over from this, right, these are all confined to what? Primary wavefronts. These are all what? Primary wavefronts, all these are. And these primary wavefronts are confined only through the region where the light is propagating. Only in this region you can see these are all what? Primary wavefronts. You know, if I am having a source of light, you know, it can emit the light in all the radiation, in all the directions. You are aware. And locus of all the points in phase which I am going to take, that is called a wavefront. We are aware of it. Somewhere if I am having a point source or linear or finite or infinite source, whatever it may be, you know, this is what a primary wavefronts. All these are all primary wavefronts at different instances, you know. Due to these primary wavefronts, you know, you can see some brightness in this region. Okay. So now when it comes to but these primary wavefronts can travel only in the region where the light is going to be the region where the light emitting is this region only, right? Only in this region, throughout in all the directions. But this light cannot produce any light in this region. Keep it in mind directly. Okay. So then how come you can see some brightness in this region? Means we are all aware that each and every point on the primary wavefront is the source of what? A secondary wavelet we have studied. Each and every point on the primary wavefront is the source of secondary wavelet. So let me say, even on this primary wavefront, we are having all the each and every point on this primary wavefront is a source of what? Secondary wavelets like this. Now these secondary wavelets can be present in this region. So what are the secondary wavefronts we are going to talk about, right? These secondary wavefronts. These secondary wavefront or secondary wavelets can be in this region. Why? Because now this is a source of light, you know. Yes or no? Each and every point on the primary wavefront is a source of secondary wavelets. Each and every point can emit the light now in all the directions throughout. Here a secondary wavelet or a point source at this point, right, it is going to emit the radiation, or it is going to, at this point it is going to emit the light, and here also at this point it is going to emit the light. So now this envelope of secondary wavelets will leads for what? Secondary wavefronts. That secondary wavefront superposition will be the brightness in this region. In this region or in the shadow region where you are going to see the light is only due to the superposition of due to a primary and a secondary, or between a secondary and a secondary wavefront. Okay, this primary wavefront and one more a primary secondary wavefront, for example, this secondary wavefront and one more primary might be present here. Let me say they will superpose to form certain intensity at this point. Similarly, they will superpose to form certain intensity at this point, right? So brightness in this region of shadow region is only due to the superposition of either a primary and a secondary or a secondary and a primary, so that you can see some brightness. See now what is happening, the light which is getting obstructed here, right, is going to bend into its geometrical shadow. Now this light, is it the actual light which is coming from this source here now, original wavefront it is? No. The wave which is traveling, the light which is traveling into this is due to the superposition of what? Secondary wavefronts. Or this is the light which is coming from what? Secondary wavefronts. Keep this point in mind. This is not from the primary wavefront. This bending of light is due to the secondary wavefronts. So all the light we are going to see is due to what? Secondary wavefronts. So what phenomena the light is going to undergo here now? Bending into its geometrical shadow. So this bending of light or encroachment of light, remember the terminology you have to write in the same way for the definition. Encroachment of light or bending of light or making a or it is just like you can say projection of light into its geometrical shadow, that itself we used to call it as diffraction. This is a phenomenon called what? Diffraction. Because of that particular phenomenon of diffraction, we can have some brightness in our room. Okay, so only because of this phenomenon of what? Diffraction, you can have some light everywhere, even inside the room. It's not like it is not open to the atmosphere, but still you can see some light. Yes or no? The reason for that is diffraction. It is having the property of bending. Wherever it is required, it can bend. Not only these light rays, diffraction phenomenon can be exhibited by both mechanical as well as non-mechanical waves. Remember this, diffraction phenomenon can be exhibited by both mechanical as well as non-mechanical waves. Non-mechanical waves, you are aware, mechanical waves means you are aware, transverse and longitudinal we are having. Sound waves, right? In case of sound waves, wavelength is high in case of sound waves. Hence, they can be diffracted very easily. Okay, when you put a small torch out there, for example, and when you speak, right, even when you are going to speak, it is going to be audible in the other outside, even it is completely closed. Okay, if there is a small hole or of that kind, if you are going to have, whatever you are speaking is audible in the other room also. A reason for that is, why it is audible means, it is having the property of bending. Wherever a small hole it is there, at that place it is going to bend. It just bends and it just travels to the ear of the other person present in the other room. It is due to what? Diffraction of sound. Means sound do undergoes diffraction, and even all mechanical or non-mechanical waves do undergoes diffraction. Whether it is in case of mechanical waves, either it is transverse or longitudinal waves, they will undergo diffraction. Remember, wavelength is larger means their their property for undergoing diffraction is easier. Keep this point in mind. And even microwaves, if I say, right, they are having more radio waves, if I say, right, radio waves are having larger wavelength, they will undergo diffraction very easily. And even similarly, like sound waves also, sound waves are having larger wavelength, they can undergo diffraction very easily. So this one point you have to remember when it comes to the diffraction. So now I hope you understood what you mean by diffraction exactly. The phenomenon where bending of light takes place into its geometrical shadow, or encroachment of light into its geometrical shadow. Now, what characteristics this diffracted light do have? After it undergoes the diffraction phenomena, how its intensity pattern it is going to be on the screen? What is its nature? Just like interference, how we have studied what should be the path difference, phase difference, so on, so things we have studied for interference, right? The same way in case of diffraction, there are certain points to be studied. There are certain points where we need to study about. We will see one by one. Who has studied the phenomenon of interference by considering the double slit experiment? That is Young, we are all aware. Young's double slit experiment, by that name itself we have studied entire experiment and all the description of that we have studied. The same way, diffraction phenomenon has been studied by two people. One is Fresnel and the other one is Fraunhofer. Fraunhofer is the other one who has studied about this diffraction phenomenon. These two people have studied the diffraction phenomenon. In this, Fresnel's diffraction is bit complicated to analyze. It is not so easier to analyze. We need to have small differences between these two. What do you mean by Fresnel diffraction and Fraunhofer diffraction? In our course of in this particular topic, right, we need to have the discussion for Fraunhofer diffraction. What is Fraunhofer diffraction? We have to study at single slit. But whereas we are not going to study this Fresnel diffraction, but we will just see what assumptions he made and what quite difference between Fresnel and Fraunhofer diffraction, what quite differences are there, we are going to study. Remember, this is difficult to analyze. It is difficult to analyze, whereas in case of Fraunhofer diffraction it is easier to analyze, or you can say easy to analyze. Easy to analyze in case of what? Fraunhofer diffraction. Now here no need of any lenses, no need of lenses during the analysis of Fresnel diffraction. Here a set of convex lens is required. A set of convex lens is required to study the analysis of Fraunhofer diffraction. If you want to study or if you want to analyze the Fraunhofer diffraction, a set of convex lenses are required. Why it is in required of that? We will see that. We'll study with that. Why exactly? But here no need of any set of convex lens or any kind of lens. And here source and screen are at finite distance. Remember this, source and screen are at certain finite distance. Source and screen are at finite distance. So the major differences we can observe between Fresnel and Fraunhofer diffraction. Here source and screen are at infinite distance. Source and screen are at infinite distance. So this is one basic difference you can observe between Fresnel and Fraunhofer diffraction. They will ask for 2 marks directly, that's why I have written the points even. In the same way, if you write for 2 points of them, it is enough. For 2 marks they are going to ask what are the basic differences between Fresnel and Fraunhofer diffraction. Even though we are not in depth we are going to learn, not going to learn in depth about the Fresnel diffraction, but still they are going to ask basic differences that are between what Fresnel and the Fraunhofer diffraction. These 3 points you can remember. And in case of the course of studying the Fresnel diffraction, we are having half period zones. So actually it is out of our text. Somewhere in degree we are going to study about the half period zones. By considering that half period zones, the complete analysis of the Fresnel diffraction is going to happen. Generally we used to call them half period zones as Fresnel zones we used to call. By considering the Fresnel zones, we are going to explain this Fresnel's diffraction, but that is out of our text, nothing to bother about it. Here and there, if we are going to hear that terminology of Fresnel zone, remember that they are nothing but half period zones, by considering which the diffraction phenomena has been explained by Fresnel. Okay, our Fresnel's diffraction can be explained. He just considered at certain distances how this diffraction phenomena has been taken place in terms of, he divided the diffraction phenomena, that pattern into zones. They are called what? Half period zones. We are not going to go in depth about half period zones. That is not required for us out of text, nothing to bother. But where in case of Fraunhofer diffraction, how he has considered or how he has taken source on screen should be at infinite distance, they are saying. Source is somewhere at far away and screen is somewhere at far away distance. They are both are at infinite distance, right? And how he analyzed, what observation he made, Fraunhofer observation, what he has made, in depth about all the points we have to study. We are having that analysis of Fraunhofer diffraction at single slit. We have to study that, and what are the conditions we are going to get, and what the intensity pattern we are going to see in case of Fraunhofer diffraction on the screen we have to study. Just like Young's double slit experiment, using that how we have studied the intensity pattern, like all bright fringes are completely bright, or all maximas are completely bright, all minimas are completely dark, or all maximum intensity is completely bright, all the bright fringes are equal in intensity, all dark fringes are same in intensity we have studied. How in case of diffraction, that we need to have we need to study for that. In case of Fraunhofer diffraction only we are going to study, and we are not bothered about what? Fresnel diffraction we are not bothered, we have to study about what? Fraunhofer diffraction. So in that case, so let us have a small discussion on the Fraunhofer diffraction now, analysis of it. And remember, it is difficult to analyze. Which one? Fresnel diffraction is difficult to analyze. No need of any lenses in order to analyze this Fresnel diffraction. And one more thing you can observe, like source and screen are at finite distance, where in case of Fresnel diffraction, and there is the formation of half period zones called Fresnel zones in case of Fresnel diffraction to analyze the Fresnel diffraction, you can say. And this is about the Fraunhofer diffraction, what you have to remember. And Fraunhofer diffraction has been studied at single slit. So what is that single slit experiment? Not to study the Fraunhofer diffraction, we will see now. And what is the outcome of that Fraunhofer diffraction? We have to study. That is very important, crucial points we are going to learn from it. Whereas for competitive, one question we can expect from diffraction, and that too from Fraunhofer diffraction, how it is regarding the condition for minima in case of Fraunhofer diffraction. So based on that, some equations we are going to get. I will discuss them. We'll just try to follow with those things. I told Fraunhofer diffraction takes place, source and screen should be at infinite distance, I told you. And once again, let me write that. Fraunhofer diffraction at single slit. Fraunhofer diffraction at single slit. Single slit. What is this? I'm going to take this a cardboard which is made up a single slit. Now these are two edges of this slit which I am going to consider. Let's say it is of certain width d. What is the width of this single slit I am going to take? Small d I am going to consider. Let it be. So now somewhere I am going to have source. Where the source we need to place for the Fraunhofer diffraction, source should be at infinite distance. If I keep that source at infinite distance, like a torchlight you are going to take, keeping at infinite distance, infinite distance means somewhere at larger distance, can you analyze that? Not possible. So that's why what you will do, not to make that source to appear at our position. Then will source at infinity means, will you go and put a torchlight somewhere at infinite distance and analyze its characteristic? No. Available source for us at infinity is what? Sun will take. What is that? Sun we are going to consider. That's what the source of light. Now even the source is at infinity if you want to study, right? I am going to make use of a convex lens here. What does it makes? It's like light is going to be incidented on the convex lens like this. What happens from this source if the light is going to be incidented? Convex lens exactly at the focus, let me say this, I am going to focus this lens to the sunlight for example. Then how the light rays which are coming out of this this convex lens, how they are going to be? Parallel. You know exactly at the focus if I am going to keep the object, how the light rays are going to be? Parallel to the principal axis or parallel beam of light you can observe here. So like this is what a parallel beam of light what you are going to see. So now if you observe the light ray coming from this point, right, it just comes away like this, and here at this point a light ray which is coming from this particular point, right, and at this point if you see it is going to get objected by this, or its motion, this path of the light is getting objected by this sharp edge, just like a knife edge you can observe this end and even at this point. So what happens exactly? So if I say a small dust particle might be present at this point, let me say, so that even this ray of light is going to undergo diffraction. This ray is going to undergo diffraction because of the presence of what? The sharp edge at this point, and even at this point a sharp edge because of the slits whatever they are going to be ended, so that light undergoes diffraction in this particular path for example. Now if you want to analyze this particular study, what is that? If you want to analyze this study, this is a parallel beam, right, where the image is going to be formed for the parallel source. If this parallel, right, where the image of this is going to be formed, in ray optics I already studied, image will be formed at infinity. So if you keep on, we can't go keep a screen once again at somewhere at infinity, right? So what we are going to make, I want it to be focused at certain point, means once again I am going to make these light rays to pass through what? One more convex lens. That's what in the beginning when I mentioned the differences over there for Fresnel and Fraunhofer, we are going to make use of a set of convex lens we have studied. That's what. Whenever a parallel beam of light rays are going to be incidented on this, likewise, what happens? They are going to converge these light rays somewhere at a point. I will say this is what the screen which I have taken. This is what the point which I am going to consider. See, a parallel beam of light rays which are incidented on this second set of convex lens, they are going to converge at that point. Okay, and the light rays which are coming through this region, which are not undergoing any diffraction, right, finally they are going to form their image, or they are going to form exactly at the center of the screen. They are going to form what? A bright fringe like this, or else a set of, once again if I am going to put a lens over there somewhere in between, right, for this particular set of light rays which are coming after diffraction, right, exactly at this point, exactly at the center of the screen, what it is going to be formed. See, this is a place where complete brightness is going to be there. Let me say these light rays are going to be interfered at this point to form the what it is going to be formed on the screen, we have to study. See, what Fraunhofer has observed is, he just made certain calculations like, see, the light rays which are coming from this point and this source. Okay, if you observe, if I am going to draw a normal to this is what a normal which I have drawn. If I take this angle as theta, right, and this angle as theta, if I am going to consider, this is the extra path what it has travelled, some delta x. This is what extra path between these two. When these two waves, see, it might be a primary wave friend, this might be what? A secondary. Primary and secondary, they will superpose. These two waves are going to be superposed to form certain intensity on the screen. And this is the path difference what we got. And similarly, the wave from here and the wave from here, if I am going to draw a normal over here, this is once again a path difference. So like this. So for all this, he observed that, his observation is that path difference, generally it is going to be written as what? Delta x equals to d sin theta. If it is equals to n lambda, see, remember, if path difference delta x, and you know that d sin theta, if it is equals to n lambda, then This is the condition for minima in case of diffraction. This is condition for what? Minima in case of diffraction. Condition for minima in case of diffraction. In case of diffraction. This is the condition for what? Minima in case of diffraction. Remember, this is the condition for what? Maxima in interference we have studied. Condition for maxima in interference is what? Path difference equals to n lambda or phase difference equals to 2n pi. Anything you can write for. In interference, that is a condition. Whereas here, this entire part of how you got the relation is not required for us. If you are able to analyze this equation and solve the problems on them, or if you are able to analyze that particular how the minimas are going to be formed on either of the screen, or intensity pattern how it is formed on the screen, it is more than enough for us. Remember, condition for minima in case of diffraction is path difference delta x equals to, that is d sin theta equals to n lambda, and one more observation is like delta x equals to, that is d sin theta, it will be equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2. This is the condition for formation of, condition for what? Formation of maxima in case of diffraction. Condition for path, what is that? Condition for what? Maxima in diffraction. In case of diffraction. In case of diffraction. In case of diffraction, what is the condition for maxima? D sin theta, path difference. Remember, we are writing all this in terms of what? Path difference. Path difference delta x, it should be equals to d sin theta, it should be equals to n lambda, or d sin theta equals to 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2 for what? Maxima. This is minima. I am not saying here constructive and destructive interference. In terms of interference, you have to say constructive, destructive interference are bright or dark fringe we call them. Here you can't call them as fringes. You have to call them as maximas and minimas. They are not fringes. Fringe pattern will be, in case of fringe pattern, intensity is same at all the points. Like all bright fringes have same intensity. And correspondingly all dark fringes have, all darks are having same intensity. All brights are having same intensity. One bright fringe, how much it is there? Intensity. All brights will have the same intensity is there. But whereas in case of diffraction, maximas and minimas, all maximas will not have the same intensity, and all minimas also will not have the same intensity in case of what? Diffraction. This is one small observation you need to have. So based on that, path difference for the what should be the condition for minima to path difference, in terms of path difference for the formation of minima condition is delta x equals to d sin theta, it should be equals to what? N lambda. And 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2 is for what? Minima condition. So you just make a note of those two observations there. This is the observation. And now one more thing, how the intensity pattern that is formed on the screen, how the intensity pattern that is formed on the screen, that's one small observation if you make. Okay, it is observed that if I say this, what exactly at the center, this is called central bright. What do you call that as? Central bright. Central bright is a maximum, or central maxima you can say. You can also call it as, instead of bright you can say central maximum. On either side of central maximum, what are going to be found means, see, consecutive maximas and minimas like this. What is happening to their intensity as they move away from the central bright? What is happening to the intensity of these maximas goes on, decreases. Even on the other side also, see, like this. What is happening to these intensities? Like this. Intensity goes on, decreases as you move away from the central maxima. As you move away from the either side of central maxima, right? Central maxima is having the maximum intensity. As you move away from the central maxima, what is happening to the intensity pattern? Intensity goes on, decreases as you move from either side of the central maxima. Central maxima is bright. It is similar to that, like light, because of this light which is, there is no any opaque in this region, no, in this central part there is no any opaque. So what happens, this entire light which is coming from this lens, it is going to be incidented here, no doubt. They are going to form constructively, they are going to they are going to interfere constructively, so that this, whatever the superposition, due to this it is formed, maximum amplitude you are going to have the light which is present in this region, or intensity is maximum, you can say. That's why you can see the central light. As you move away, what is happening? You are entering into the shadow of this region. In this region, whatever the light you are going to get due to the superposition of what? Minimas. And these minimas, superposition of secondary wavefronts. Remember this point. This is called first secondary maxima. What do you call this one as? First secondary maxima. This is first secondary maxima. And this is first secondary minima. Remember this. First secondary minima. On either side of central maxima, what you are going to have? Consecutive secondary maximas and secondary minimas. This is what? Secondary maxima. Keep this point in mind. Secondary maxima. And what is this one? This is second. This is first secondary minima. This is secondary minima. Secondary minima. So like this. On either side, even this one also, what do you call this one? This is first secondary maximum. This is first secondary maxima. And this is first secondary minima. This is first secondary minima. See, on either side of central maxima, we are going to have consecutive secondary maxima, right? The first, soon after central maxima, we are having got first secondary minima, and then first secondary maxima. Next, second secondary minima, and next second secondary maxima, third secondary minima, third secondary maxima. Remember this term, secondary maximas and secondary minimas are going to be formed on either side of central maxima. You have to call them as secondary maxima and secondary minima. Central bright means it is exactly at the center of the screen, whatever the intensity form, that is. As you move away, as the order of this maxima and minima goes on, increases on the other side. As the order means what? This is the first one. This is second bright, this is third bright, this is nth bright. As you move away, as the order of the minima goes on, increases, or as the order of maxima, secondary maxima goes on, increases, its intensity goes on, decreases. Okay, so intensities of the secondary maxima goes on, decreases as you move away from central maxima. So this is one more point you have to remember, accordingly with the relation with what? Minimas. How that, where exactly that minima is going to be formed and how to derive that relation, we will study. We have one small relation to be derived for it. What is the exact equation for central maxima? See the time. Okay, so we have enough time to have the discussion. So we'll have a small discussion related to where exactly the minimas are going to be formed, and at what distance exactly from central maxima. We're going to have some which minima is going to be formed at those places. We are going to study. We'll just have a small analysis of that. From that, a major conclusion we need to make, a small formula we need to obtain from it. We'll see that. I'm going to rub. See, this is all about the Fraunhofer diffraction. In case of Fraunhofer diffraction, source has been taken at infinite distance. In order to confine to finite, we are going to make use of a convex lens, so that a parallel beam is going to be coming out of the convex lens, which is made to pass through a hole whose slit width is some d. Slit width is what? D we have taken. So now the light from this slit, somewhere at the ends of the corners of the slit, and as well as due to the obstacles present in between, right, light undergoes diffraction, so that bending of light has been taken place. Not to analyze that bent light, the light which got bent at these sharp edges or the ends, right, due to the dust particles. To analyze that, we are going to study this, not to study this, where this parallel beam is going to form its image at infinity. So in order to make that light to form somewhere at some finite distance, we are going to make that light, diffracted light, to undergo or to make to pass through what? One more convex lens, so that the light, after passing through the convex lens, they are going to be focused at a point on the screen. Now if you observe this point on the screen, or if you are going to analyze for the point on the screen, whether it is a minima formed here or maxima formed here, how can you find out? Means based on the value of diffraction. What are the conditions for path difference for the diffraction we have studied. What is that? If you want to study that minima to be formed at that point, means that value path difference should be equals to n lambda for the condition of what? Minima. Similarly, if a maxima to be formed there at that point means, what is the condition for maxima? 2n plus 1 into lambda by 2. That is quite opposite for constructive and destructive interference conditions what we have studied in interference phenomena. If you remember, for minima condition here, that is more than enough. So that is only the important point. If they ask the problems either in board exam perspective or particularly very important point for competitive, that which we are going to discuss next thing, right? So like not only for competitive, even for board exam perspective also they may ask for that question. So like, what is this width of central maxima, how much it is from here to here, means the distance between two minimas, we have to find it out, we have to solve for that condition. So what is that width, angular width of central maxima also, how much it is, we have to solve. So this is all about Fraunhofer diffraction. And see, when you analyze this intensity pattern on the screen, what is the observation we make? Exactly at the center of the screen, central maxima or central bright we are going to get. On either side of central maxima or central bright, we are going to have consecutive secondary maxima and secondary minimas. Consecutive minimas and maximas we are going to have with a decreasing intensity as you move away from the central bright. As the order of that maxima or minima is going to be increased, the intensity of those maximas goes on decreases. Similarly, in case of minimas also. You remember, maximum minimum intensity what we are talking will not have the complete zero intensity. There what we have studied, intensity of minima should be completely zero. Where in case of interference, I minimum equals to 0 we have studied for what? Minima or restrictive interference. Whereas here in case of diffraction, intensity is not zero, it is not completely zero. There is small some brightness, it is going to be present in this region also. As you move away, even that also goes on decreases. Somewhere at far away distance, intensity of then both maxima and minima they will become 0. Somewhere at far away distance from the center of the screen or central bright. So this is all about what Fraunhofer diffraction what we have studied with. Now we will see how to derive an expression for the width of central maxima. Width of central maxima, both linear as well as angular width. Linear width of central maxima as well as angular width of central maxima. How to derive an expression for them we will study. Linear as well as angular width of central maxima. So you can take the heading as expression for width of central maxima. Width of central maxima. Okay, now? So now, exactly, I'm going to consider, I'm going to reverse the diagram which we have taken. Just a minute. Okay, let me draw here itself. Somewhere here the slit we are going to have small width. See, I will say from central maxima to the first minima distance I am going to take it as y. What is this? Y is nothing but distance from center of the screen to the what? First minima distance. So what is the width? The linear width of central maxima means 2y, which we need to find it out. And I will take this angle as theta, right? And this is distance between slits and the screen, slit and the screen, not slits. One slit only we are taking, right? Slit and the screen. This is small d we are going to consider. What is that? Slit width d. Small d is what? Slit width which we have taken. Small d. So you just recall with all the conditions. We are going to have paradoxical approximations here also, remember this. If it is theta, this is a, what is the angular width of central maxima means? The central maxima is having how much angular width now? 2 theta. Theta is what? Half angular width of central maxima. 2 theta is nothing but what now? Angular width of central maxima. The complete angular width of central maxima, if you want to find, you need to have the value of 2 theta. So if you write here, from the geometry of this, what you can write? This is opposite and this is adjacent side. I can write tan theta, it will be equals to what? Tell me here. Tan theta is almost equals to theta. Tan theta equals to theta. It is equal to y by d na. This is y divided by d. And here what is going to be formed? This is first minima na? This is first minima. First minima means what is the value of n? Equals to 1. Path difference delta x here, path difference delta x, it will be equals to what? D sin theta, it will be equals to n lambda. For first minima, n equals to what? 1. If I substitute, we will get d sin theta equals to lambda, or sin theta equals to what? Sin theta equals to lambda by d. Okay, now sin theta is almost equals to theta, it will be equals to tan theta under paradoxical approximations we have studied. Or for small angles, right? Here sin theta is almost equals to tan theta is almost equals to theta. So from this I can write theta equals to lambda by d, or you can also equate it to what? This value y by d. This is the equation, standard equation for what? Minima condition. While you are finding for these values, you know, this is the equation to be remembered. Theta equals to lambda by d equals to, this is y by small d na, y by capital D, lambda by small d. Theta equals to what? Sin theta equals lambda by small d, and once again it is equals to what? Y by capital D. From this you can obtain just mathematical calculation. See, from this equation what you can write here? Y it will be equals to, y equals to what? Lambda capital D divided by small d. Can't we write like this? Y equals to lambda capital D by small d. Therefore, linear width of central maxima, linear width of central maxima, comma 2y. 2y only, na? It is not y. Remember this. This is 2y. Linear width of central maxima, comma 2y, it will be equals to how much? In terms of this 2 lambda capital D by small d. This is 2 lambda capital D divided by small d. This is the formula for what? Linear width of central maxima, you have to remember. Linear width of central maxima formula is what? 2 lambda capital D by small d. Here lambda is what? Wavelength of light used. Remember this. Lambda is wavelength of light used. Wavelength of light which you have made used. Capital D is distance between slit and the screen. Distance between slit and screen. Slit and screen. And what is small d? Small d is slit width. It is slit width. Slit width. Small d is what? Slit width. So now we have obtained or arrived at the relation for what? Linear width of central maxima. What is the linear width of central maxima? 2 lambda capital D by small d. Similarly, also angular width of central maxima. Angular width of central maxima, if I want to find, how to find out angular width of central maxima, how to find out? 2 theta only now we have to find. What is the value of theta here? Theta equals to lambda by d or y by d, anything you can say. Angular width means 2 theta na, it will be equals to what? 2 lambda by small d I can write, or you can also write it as 2y by capital D. Any equation you can take. If they are given linear width and they are asking to find the angular width, use this relation y by d equals to 2 theta equals to 2y by d. If they are given wavelength and distance of or slit width, if they are given, use this relation 2 theta equals to what? 2 lambda by d you have to make use. So that's why you need to solve for linear and angular width of central maxima in case of diffraction phenomenon. So this is all about the diffraction related to the Fraunhofer that is Fraunhofer diffraction, which you have to remember with. And 2 more points are left out in this chapter, in this particular topic of diffraction. So that is resolving power as well as limit of resolution for certain optical instruments. So what do you mean by limit of resolution and what do you mean by resolving power? So that in the coming sessions I will explain. Soon after the completion of that, the only left out topic in this chapter is polarization. So that as a complete discussion we need to have. So that I will discuss soon after the completion of 2 more topics. What is that? 2 more points related to the diffraction, that is resolving power and limit of resolution. Small 2 relations will get there. So the basic definitions of them and limit of resolution and resolving power, that I will discuss that in the next session. So with this I am going to conclude for this session. From diffraction, what are all the points we have studied? Majorly about what do you mean by diffraction definition? Types, Fresnel and Fraunhofer type differences we have studied, and mainly about Fraunhofer diffraction we are studying. What are the points we have considered for Fraunhofer diffraction at single slit, and what conditions we have written for minima conditions. What are those? Path difference, how it should be for the minima as well as for maximum we have studied, and also expression for width of central maxima, both linear as well as the angular width of central maxima, how we have to find out, we have written. So that's all about diffraction we have to learn with. So remaining points, whichever it is, like that is resolving power, limit of resolution, along with the polarization. I think it needs 2 more sessions to have this discussion completely. So with that, this wave optics we are going to do with. Okay, so fine then. I'll stop here, just go through with all the points what we have studied for today. Thank you.